when I say that analog synths have guts, try this. Okay, this is a very, very rare instrument called a Triadex Muse, and it was made in the 70s by some guys at Harvard who wanted to make a piece of equipment that would sort of create compositions on its own, make melodies without you having to play them. So it's actually just got one simple oscillator built in, which sounds like that. You can change the pitch of it. Tell it to start creating intervals. There's one interval. There's another one. You put those two together, you already got a little melody going there. In 1973, on a Mott the Hoople tour of the States, we used to go to thrift stores, or recycle shops if you like, and look for bargains, and there was always masses of records, albums selling for 25 cents, and one I picked up was Bach played on the koto. So it's kind of a hybrid music, which has always appealed to me, but that was the first time really to have a good idea of the sound of Japanese instruments. But basically, I was living in America in 1984, in Hollywood, and I wasn't working very much, and I was kind of getting itchy to move on to somewhere else. I basically looked at a map of America and looked all over and said, well, I've been to nearly all those major cities. I don't really feel like trying one of those, so I turned the page, and literally the next page in this atlas was Japan. And just a light came on in my head, and I looked at my girlfriend and said, what do you think? She said, yeah, let's go. So I just literally came on a whim, with like $500 in my pocket, no money apart from that, no job, no friends here, and not a word of Japanese, and just came, and I'm still here. Yeah, but my friend Mark Dytham is a renowned architect here, and with his partner Astrid Klein. They are very, very generous people, and it must have been about 12 years ago, they had an office in Azerbaijan, and it was actually a big warehouse, and then there was a sort of office section which they basically used, and the warehouse wasn't used for much at all except for the occasional architectural presentations and so on. And they thought, well, let's have the odd party here, and they had parties there, and then they thought, well, let's have the odd gig here. And eventually I did a gig there to promote an album I'd made in 97, I think it was, called Remix, and I did a live gig there, and it was great, and they called the place Deluxe. And then eventually the live gigs started to increase, and it was interfering with their work, because they're an architectural firm, you know, and they thought, well, we need to get somewhere else, we need to separate the work and the fun, or the entertainment, or the music. So they looked around for another place, and wittily they called it Super Deluxe, and that's right next to Roppongi Hills, and it's a big open space in a basement, and basically anything happens there. It doesn't have to be just music, it can be film, dance, theatre, happenings, poetry, events, yoga, whatever. And so the place is different every time I go there. The seating's been rearranged, and I love it. And so I said, of course, can I play here? And they said yes, and I enjoyed it so much. I said, you know what, I'd like to do this once a month. And seeing as my name's Morgan and I have a lot of organs, let's call it Morgan's Organ. And they laughed and said, yeah, sure. So that is 6 years ago now. So for 6 years, every month, except the odd holiday, I've been playing there. I know. Well, Japan's been very good to me, and I've worked hard, and I've done a lot of music for films and TV ads and various other things, and so I can't think of anything better to spend money on than more instruments. And I tend to go for the older style instruments. I mean, I use samplers a lot in my work, shall we say, which is like music for films and TV, but my real pleasure is the older sounding analog instruments, which have much more character and guts. And so I picked up quite a few older instruments here, but also on places like eBay and Yahoo. And so yeah, this room is kind of filling up. And so for Morgan's organ, my main thing is not to decide what to play in terms of what music to play, but what instruments to play. So I'll choose 3 or 4 of these lovely old keyboards and take them down to Super Deluxe every month. But the main thing is it's like the difference between LPs and CDs. I mean, everyone knows the difference between analog and digital. It has that warmth, that richness that there's no way digital instruments can. There's lots of small little holes in the wall, and you sort of have to get to know them, and then you find out. I mean, especially not far from here is a train line called the Chuo line, and some people used to call it the hippie line. Not necessarily hippie, but hip, I would say. I mean, it's from all the way from Shinjuku through to Kichijoji. Each stop on this line has its own kind of groovy area with lots of little bars. Some of them may be, you know, the size of a 6-mat room, and they still have a live show there. You know, maybe one guy with a blues guitar. But explore those areas. I mean, you could even just get off the station and just wander around, and almost any station on the Chuo line.